good afternoon. My name is Yvette, and I will present my teammates, Valeria Pérez, Sergio López, Ricardo Véliz, Gael, Gaytan, and our special guest, Gregor Mendel. We are pleased to have you here, Mr. Mendel. Thank you for coming back to life for this interview.
The pleasure is mine.
Do you like to be called Mr. Mendel?
Well, my complete name is Gregor Johann Mendel. I prefer just Mendel. It is nice to be here 199 years after I was born.
Wow, almost 200 years later. When were you born?
In July 20 from 1822 in Heinz Brasny, Czechia, Austria.
Absolutely incredible. Where do you used to live in that time?
I lived on my family's farm in what was Heisendorf, Austria.
Can you explain to us what were your experiments about, please?
Sure. Around 1854, I began to research the transmission of hereditary traits in plant hybrids. At the time, it was generally accepted the fact that the hereditary traits of the offspring of any species were merely the diluted blending of whatever traits were present in parents.
Your most famous experiment is about peas.
Well, yes. By experimenting with true breeding pea plants, I avoided the appearance of unexpected traits in offspring that might occur if the plants were not true breeding. The garden pea also grows to maturity within one season, meaning that several generations could be evaluated over a relatively short period of time.
Sounds nice, but what implies your first law of hybrid, uniformity, or dominance principle?
Well, in a few words, it explains that if two plants that differ in just one trait are crossed, then the resulting hybrids will be uniform in the chosen trait. Easy, isn't it?
Can you tell us how you came to that conclusion?
It should be a secret. After analyzing the results, I reached two of my most important conclusions. The law of segregation, which established that there are dominant and recessive traits passed in randomly from parents to offspring, and the law of independent assortment, which establishes that traits were passed on independently of other traits from parents to offspring. I also proposed that this hereditary followed by basic statistical laws. Through my experiments that had been conducted with pea plants, I put forth the theory that all living things had such traits.
What is about your second law of character segregation?
See, the law of segregation states that the alleles of a given locus segregate into separate gametes. Alleles sort independently because the gene is located on a specific chromosome.
Interesting. But what led you to that conclusion?
I cross-fertilized pea plants that had clearly opposite characteristics. Tall with short, smooth with wrinkle, those containing green seeds with those containing yellow seeds, and concluded with that statement.
We are still missing one more law. Which is your second law of independent segregation of characters?
Look, this is quite curious. This states that during gamete formation, the segregation of each gene pair is independent of other pairs. My law is often referred to as the principle of dependent assortment. Both laws are about segregation, which is the separation of allele pairs.
Wow, such a complicated process to conclude what that statements. We admire you, Mr. Mendel.
Thank you, thank you.
We're almost finished. For what can Punnett square be used?
Well, first of all, the Punnett square is a square diagram that is used to predict the genotypes of a particular cross or breeding experiment. It is named after Reginald Punnett, who devised the approach, one of my friends. The diagram is used by biologists to determine the probability of an offspring having a particular genotype. I think you have used them in one of your classes, haven't you?
Yes, Thanks for explaining, by the way. And now our last question. Which are the steps for using Punnett squares?
Well, this is going to be a long one. First, determine the genotypes of the parents. This will be like something to differentiate each of them. Second, set out the Punnett square with one parent on each side. Now, in the third step, you will fill out the Punnett square middle. In the fourth step, you will analyze the numbers of offsprings of each type. In pea plants, round seeds are dominant to wrinkle. The genotypes and the phenotypes are capital R and R will be round, capital R and lowercase r will be round again, and lowercase r and r will be wrinkled. If you get stuck, make a key. Sometimes the problems won't give you the obvious information. For example, in radishes, a bent root is a dominant trait. Through some roots are straight, which is obviously recessive. If a straight-rooted plant is crossed with a heterozygous bent root plant, how many of the offsprings will straight roots? Say what? First of all, this problem doesn't make it easy. Start by assigning genotypes and phenotypes. It doesn't matter what letter you pick, but it may be easiest to pick a letter that represents a dominant trait. In this case, use the letter B for bent. Now use the key to figure out your parents. In this case, you have to straight root plant BB in lowercase, cross with the heterozygous bent plant, which be B capital B and lowercase b. Once you figure it out, the cross is simple. If heterozygous round seeds is crossed with itself, R, uppercase R and lowercase r times uppercase R and lowercase r, a Punnett square can help you figure out the radius of the offspring.
Wow, what interesting that was. So thank you so much, Mr. Mendel. With this, we conclude our wonderful interview. We had such a good time and hope you too.
Thank you, kids. It was amazing. I need to leave. I need to go back to my sleep. Good luck with your project.
Bye.